officers that would lead the service may be up to 100 because it cuts across the three services. The retirement exercise would not affect RC 39 officers. They would simply go to the defense headquarters because the chief of defense staff is RC 38. So that's not much of a problem for for a lot of people who are I'm sure a lot of us are probably hearing this for the first time, but I mean the cost 38, cost 37, cost 39, and all of
just a military culture. These administrative hierarchical issues that really wouldn't cause any troubles really. So it's just a normal routine when this, especially during a transition period, and then the president decides to let go of existing service chiefs to bring in new ones. So definitely some other people would have to go because again, a junior officer cannot begin to pretend over a senior officer in terms of when they got into the service and all of that.
All right, thank you very much. Especially, bring as it has been noted also in the course of this conversation that the former CDS, that's General Lucky Rabo, was actually is cost 39. Or was and so his cosmates, that's people who are within the same rank as at now, would have to sit back and they won't be able to work with the new CDS by military tradition, just as Fuhad had mentioned.
They'll sort it out. It's not
well. All right, moving on. Vice President Kashim Shettima has decorated Mr. Kayode Egbetokun as the acting Inspector General of Police at the Presidential Villa, Abuja. And speaking to journalists after the ceremony, Egbetokun expressed eagerness to resume duties on Wednesday today, saying he felt like a tiger, ready to chase away all the internal enemies of the country. He seems pumped up for the job ahead. I mean, there have been a lot of accolades that have been posed on him when his name was announced as acting Inspector General.
Sandra, when you get to the peak of your career, you should have that kind of energy.
It's okay. It's all right.
Again, not every policeman, has that opportunity to get to the IG, the level of the IG. Yes, a lot of fantastic policemen who served the nation diligently were not able to get to that enviable position, if you allow me to put it that way. So I understand his excitement. I understand why he has that kind of energy. He said he felt like a tiger who is ready to, chase out all enemies of the country. And at some point, he said he also feels like a lion who is ready to devour the enemies of the country.
Oh.
But again, I think yes, to a great extent, we know his track record. Like I said, he's a Lagos boy. He also permits me to use that word.
Former Commissioner of Police,
Yeah,
former
Lagos,
CSO of Governor of Lagos.
The governor, and then at some point, I think he was also the head of the IRS unit.
Yes.
In Lagos, So at least we have some records of what he was able to do when he was in Lagos. But again, this is a different kettle of fish, and I must tell you, because now he has to head the police, he has to take care of the security challenges that we face, especially internal security challenges that we face in the country at this time. Sandra, police force needs a lot of reforms. A lot of reforms. And when we talk about reforms, a lot of them structural. I don't want to go into the debate of state policing or not. Let's leave that to the president to sort out. But let us even talk about the current structure of the
IGP and the PSC.
But when I talk about structural, number one would be the operations of the police. It comes to recruitment. We have to start with recruitment. Which kind of people are we getting into the police force? The second would also be about remuneration, Sandra. How do we remunerate them appropriately? What kind of motivation do we give to them? Then we also have to look at their behavioral pattern. I must say that the immediate outgoing IG started some work that I think he should sustain. And that's a strict response to misbehavior from the police force. We saw a lot of them dismissed during this last IG's administration. Anything happens, it gets into the social media. There's a quick response from the police to ensure disciplinary action is taken against them. We saw police officers demoted for assaulting ordinary Nigerians. We saw some of them even dismissed and all of that. And we saw some, getting some real punishment from mishandling their firearms and all of that. So I think when it comes to discipline within the police force, he has a lot of work to do. The other one would also be the image of the police. We've always complained about it. This idea of having our police officers as domestic staff for so-called VIP. In Nigeria, everybody is a VIP. So far, you have money. Nobody cares what kind of job you do. Nobody cares about the image of the police. Immediately you have the money to pay. You are attached with the number of policemen you request for. I think that has to stop because it doesn't even look good for the morale of the police, for the image of the police. When you now begin to see our police force helping, again, I say celebrities, wherever, everybody is a celebrity, everybody is a VIP in the country, helping to open their doors. And those are the things we see in public. God knows what they do in the private capacity of these guys. So we need to look at the situation where we bring that honor back to the police force. I think we need to withdraw them from VIPs. We can create a private arrangement for private security companies to take care of security of VIPs. And ultimately, we also look at, the working space for the police force. Their police stations, I think we need to look into it. The police station should not be a dungeon. I think it has to even start with the names. Alakara, Elewero, Eleku. All those. I'm sorry, the PR part of me does not fit in for us to have police stations with those kinds of names. There's no reason why we can't take those names.
You had Zone D, Zone C, and Division this and Division that. I think it's just a colloquial.
What of Panty?
I think it's just the street way.
Panty. All those kinds of I think that we have better names for our police units and police stations. For sake of proper branding, for sake of proper identity for police. I think we should also work on their public outlook, their uniforms. How do they get their uniforms sewn properly? We should have a police force that truly reflects the image of the country. And they should act truly as the friends of the people. So,
right.
Yes, it's not an individual thing. It needs to be holistic in his idea of what he wants to achieve with the police. So he has a lot of work to do, really.
All right, thank you very much. More details on page 2 of the Punch newspaper. Now, moving on, still on the front page of the Punch, we have here Emefiele's detention backed by court order, says DSS. So yesterday, the information we had was that Godwin Emefiele's legal team had gone ahead to pray to the court as regards his detention, if it was done lawfully, or if it was a lawful detention, or however it was put. So now we have here an update as regards that particular one. What we have is the Department of State Services on Tuesday urged the High Court of the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, to dismiss the fundamental rights suit filed by suspended and detained governor of Central Bank, that's Godwin Emefiele. So, by the DSS through its counsel, they filed a preliminary objection in opposition to the suit. That is, Awo, the DSS legal team, told Justice Hamza Muazu that Emefiele's detention was lawful as the DSS had got an order of an FCT Chief Magistrate Court to keep the suspended CBN governor in custody pending conclusion of investigation. So, in this fundamental rights suit that was filed by the suspended CBN governor to challenge his detention, he actually listed the Attorney General of the Federation, the Director General of the DSS, and the DSS as defendants. So, Emefiele believes that he is being unlawfully detained as against his fundamental human rights to movement, to liberty. And so, Fuhad, what would be your thoughts? Especially some people also of the opinion, they're asking questions. What exactly is our CBN governor being detained for? I didn't get that. Hello? Oh, please, I may have to call you back, Fuhad. I can't hear you at all. I don't know. Maybe maybe you should move a bit. Maybe you should change location. Okay, I have to reach out back. You're listening to Mainland 98.3 FM. This is Trends in the Papers. We're looking through trending stories on the front page of our dailies, and right now we are currently on the front page of the Punch newspaper. Don't forget that we're live on Facebook and YouTube at Mainland 98.3 FM. So if you have any thoughts as regards the ongoing conversations, you can drop your thoughts and comments and opinions in the live chat section of our live streams. All right. So moving back to the story at hand, Fuhad. Yes, thank you. Okay, so what are your thoughts as regards this back and forth? Okay.
Sandra, we have always questioned this idea of security
picking up before investigation.
We have always questioned the idea of force arresting, detaining them, now start investigation. I would have thought that it should have been the other way around. You do your investigation, you conclude your investigation, and then you can actually invite for questioning. You allow them to go. In fact, if you look at the way it's done in the Western world or other crimes, you see that the only thing they do is to call you in, they invite you for questioning, they continue their investigation, and while they allow you to go, maybe on administrative bail or something, they are actually watching you to see whether you are going to tamper with that investigation, which would further indict you, to see whether you are going to try to, tamper with the investigation, try to subvert the course of justice and all of that in any ways, whether your actions and inactions. So they try to monitor you, but they don't keep you unnecessarily. But again, I think the culture in Nigeria is to first arrest, detain, and then you see them running to courts to now seek an order to further detain you for some time. It happened with the Seun case. He was arrested. The case was completely clear. This was a guy that assaulted a police officer. And we were shocked to see the police going to court, seeking further time to detain Seun. And at that point, we were wondering, what exactly is the case? So, look, a lot of people are a bit emotional about this Emefiele thing. It's understandable by what a lot of Nigerians have gone through with the Naira redesign policy. But again, we have to be process-driven. Sandra, that's not how we feel about Emefiele. He is still a Nigerian. If we are a country governed by law and we say we obey the rule of law, he still has his fundamental human rights. And that was why I warned against the idea of media trial. We are already seeing all manner of, I would say fake news because nothing confirmed yet. Oh, some monies have been found in his house. Oh, hey, this was done. No, they said some weapon. I said, look, if the DSS, which I actually also question, has any case against Emefiele, can we allow him to have his day in court? Take your evidence to court. Let him go through proper prosecution channel, and then allow the president to submit his name for removal and approval by the Senate, and then we get a new CBN governor. So we have to be process driven. We shouldn't be too emotional about issues like this because we are a country governed by law, and we must always respect the rule of law and the fundamental rights of people, no matter how we feel about them. So I really think that, look, the DSS should get its act right, do whatever they want to do, and if he has a case to answer, let him have his day in court. And if there's nothing to answer, can we allow the man go and enjoy his freedom?
Well, you have said it all. Thank you very much, Saheed Fuhad. As it is now, the DSS is saying, is asking the High Court in FCT to dismiss the suit that was filed by Emefiele as regards his fundamental human rights to liberty and freedom. So we'll see how things work out. More details on page 9 of the Punch newspaper. We also have here PDP holds reconciliation parley. Wike others absent. Okay, and that is on page 27 of the Punch newspaper. So, as part of moves aimed at uniting aggrieved members of the party, the leadership of the People's Democratic Party met with a committee that was made up. This committee they keep putting together. I don't know what.
They are just fasting around. They are not serious.
Met with a committee made up of prominent members, including former Senate President Bukola Saraki, immediate past Governor of Akwa Ibom, Udom Emmanuel, and the committee was raised by the PDP National Working Committee, met with the acting national chairman, Umar Damagu, deputy national chairman, South, Taufik Arakwaja, among other NWC members. And he said the purpose of the parley was to review the outcome of the 2023 general elections, share ideas on ways to strengthen the PDP for future challenges. That's interesting. I thought they were in court. But then, Fuad,
yes.
Your thoughts as regards PDP and,
reconciliation move.
Their move to reconciliation.
You see that. I think the only reason why the PDP still exists as a party is because there are still a number of governors, former governors, who maybe are reluctant to go with the idea of switching over to the APC. Maybe for sake of pride and all of that. But honestly, in reality, I think the PDP is moving towards the path of extinction in their actions, in the way they carry themselves, in how they've even performed in the last 8 years as an opposition party. People still question whether they were able to perform the job of a true opposition party, political party. Look, all of these problems started from the primaries of the PDP last. When we kept talking about this idea of committee, setting up a 37-man committee, and I remember I said it that, look, to resolve their issues, they don't need to even set a committee. They know the political gladiators involved. All they needed to do is to call these guys, lock themselves up in a room, and tell themselves the own truth about how to function as a party. Look, the disagreeing parties are not too large. Sorry, Sandra. It is the Wike group and the Atiku group. All they need to do is to call in Wike and his group of governors or former governors who are still working with him. Because, look, whether we like it or not, how Wike has been able to sustain the loyalty of Seyi Makinde and these other former governors still peacefully. I'm telling you, how, because somehow you see a Seyi Makinde, you see Piazu, you see Autumn, all still showing solid solidarity for some Wike. And it's not, they are not the only ones. People like Ayo Fayose and the others, even the Bode George, all still have their issues against the Atiku group. So all they need to do is to call, they know the leaders of the party. I am sure that these political leaders, these political gladiators within the PDP, causing this disruption within the party are not up to 20 standards. And all they need to do is they can't do it in Nigeria so that people will not hear what they are saying. They can go to France or UK or any part of the world, sit down there, lock themselves up in a room, and talk about the future of the party, if they are really interested in the future of the party. But you see situations where people are grandstanding, insulting themselves on the pages of the newspaper. Recently, Wike talked about being poisoned by the PDP. Atiku replied that he was drinking whiskey, and he said he wants to reconcile. You see how a Wike saying one thing, a Dino Milai replying him, and the party is talking about reconciliation. I don't think they are serious about reconciliation. I'm not sure about that reconciliation move. They are just fapping around.
Well, I was going to mention that the reconciliation, or the so-called reconciliation parley, was met with absence. You have absence of former governors, Rivers, Enugu, Sokoto, that's Nyesom Wike, Ifeanyi, Aminu Tambuwal. They were invited, but they were not there, and they were not represented. Also, Uche Secondus, former national chairman of the party.
PDP chairman.
Yes, he was also absent, although they said he sent his apologies that he's outside the country, so he won't be able to make it.
So didn't they give him enough notice? you want to have a strong reconciliation party like that, and there was not enough notice. Politicians are very wise. They will just say, I'm not in the country. And he's actually not interested in attending.
It's okay. All right. Well, being in the country is actually a frame of mind. For I can be in Lagos and just be like, I feel like I'm in New York.
I think you're not in the country.
It's a frame of mind.
And these are politicians who can even find their ways back to the country if they are really interested in attending. These guys can, within 24 hours, return to the country freely. He wants to attend that party.
Thank you very much. That story is on page 27 of the Punch newspaper. Above the masthead of the Punch, we have here, federal government votes 24 billion naira for 10th National Assembly members' accommodation. So, here we are, Fuad.
Then
we have gotten to where we are. The housing allowance for members of the
where we want to get
I'm with you.
Let's go on. Let's go.
The housing allowances for members of the National Assembly may cost the country about 5.87 billion naira yearly. With the annual allocation of 5.87 billion naira in 4 years, the federal government will be spending about 23.48 billion naira on the lawmakers' accommodation. The allowances are based on data collated from a document obtained from the website of the Revenue Mobilization and Fiscal Allocation Commission. Let's try to break things down a bit. This covers allowances for accommodation, which is 200% of basic salary, domestic staff, utilities, house maintenance, wardrobe, and furniture. Also, although furniture allowance is usually paid once in 4 years for public office holders, the frequency of payment is not disclosed for members of National Assembly. So, as it is now, from the total amount, the housing allowance of the senators will cost about 1.38 billion naira yearly. Although the amount for Senate President and Deputy Senate President was not disclosed. Therefore, this amount only covers the allowance for 107 senators. I can continue to break down Fuhad, the allowances and the funds that are being put out. But, so that people won't be thinking. Imagine someone is listening to us and the person is at a filling station and is buying full tank of 50,000 naira and is listening to this. So let's not, And
the government is telling the person just enjoy.
It's okay. It's all right.
There's this news out there. I don't know where the paper captures it this morning. That a 7.5% VAT will also be going on the cost of diesel.
I've been looking for it. It's not captured in the papers. It's just
but it was reported yesterday. I think so.
Yes.
That there's going to be a 7.5% VAT on diesel. You see, Sandra, this is the reality of Nigeria at this time. I said this again, that the policy outlook of this current government seems to tell ordinary Nigerians that, look, the government needs more money and has to get more money to be able to deliver, for Nigerians. And in doing that, the people would have to sacrifice a lot of their earnings and their income for the government to be able to get enough money to deliver the goods for them. And the question has always been, is the government ready to also make that kind of sacrifice? Up till now, I've not seen any model or any idea from the government on how to cut down the cost of governance. There's nothing on the table. Apart from the fact that there's also nothing on the table on what it's going to do for Nigerians to alleviate their suffering as a result of the subsidy removal. The government has not also said anything at all on how they are going to cut down the cost of governance. When Nigerians now begin to see that, look, this sacrifice is not on the other side, it's not just on the side of the ordinary people, but also people in government are also taking the lead by also cutting down the cost of governance. It's unfortunate. I think it was Mr. Femi Falana of FAN that has suggested that, look, can't we have a situation where our lawmakers are paying per sitting? It becomes like a temporary, a part-time job. For the number of sittings you attend, we pay you per sitting. We can also have a situation where, look, we have a unicameral legislature. We don't have to have this bicameral, because again, you ask yourself, why do we have these two houses? Basically, what we did was to copy what the American system entails. We cannot actually fashion our own system of governance as a result of our own peculiarities. We don't have the funds to finance this jamboree. I'm not saying it's a jamboree. At the government level, at the state level, at the federal level, there's too much jamboree, and the cost of governance is too high. But again, that is a conversation that cannot end now, because we're going to bail the tax. Beneficiaries of an elaborate system of government will not want to pull it down. We already know that. So, but again, Sandra, let us even assume that they get all of these billions as allowance. The question again is that, how well are they performing their jobs? That's also another question. Are they in Abuja, working themselves to ensure that, look, Nigerians get the best from them as legislators? Okay, so with laws and all of that, So let us say we even want to pay them that money, but how well are they doing their job? Yes, I can hear you.
So basically, apologies to cut you short. I just needed to just get a point there. Is the fact that some people may not even mind the fact that we are paying trillions and billions to our lawmakers, but let's see the dividends of this all of what we are paying for. That is the point.
That's it.
Okay, all right.
That's the point. Yeah.
Okay, all right. But then, as it is now, we are paying 24 billion for people to live in a house, and we're also paying for the domestic staff of our National Assembly.
Sandra, let me shock you.
And furniture allowance.
I'm sure if let me shock you. If you get any of these legislators and you put this money before them, you know what I'm going to say. So how much is that? It's nothing. There are guys who don't even think that we are overpaying them.
It's okay.
I'm telling you, if you look at their body language, when we say some of these figures, they look at us and say, these people, we don't finish them. So how much is 20 billion? That's what you hear from them. I can tell you for free.
All right. Thank you very much, Fuhad. More details on page 2 of the Punch newspaper. Excuse me. It also has the breakdown. It also has the breakdown of, just in case someone is like really concerned.
Are you sure you won't take the breakdown?
I'm not taking the breakdown, but just in case someone is concerned about, seeing what exactly is for what, how much is for what, you can get the details on page 2 of the Punch newspaper. Moving on now, let's move on from the Punch. You're listening to Mainland 98.3 FM, the sound of Lagos, and this is Trends in the Papers. We're live on Facebook and YouTube at Mainland 98.3 FM. My name is Mobola Sandra, and Fuhad Saheed is with me via the phone line. Now, let's move on to the Guardian newspaper. The major headline: digital switchover falters. 29 states remain on analog. All right. So that is on page 6 of the Guardian. So there appears to be no end in sight for Nigeria's digital switchover journey, as there's paucity of funds, lack of political will, and new technicalities may have stalled its progress. So what we understand is that the DSO phased rollout plan has been jettisoned owing to perceived tediousness of the process, slowness, funding issues, fast evolving technology. Excuse me.
Sorry about.
In the phased rollout, only 8 states have been covered, although partially. We have Lagos, Abuja, Kano, Rivers, Kwara, Enugu, Osun, and Plateau. So the plan by the administration of ex-President Muhammad Buhari, that was championed by then Minister of Information and Culture Lai Mohammed and National Broadcast Commission, was to complete the process by December 7. I'm trying to get what exactly, get to the grid.
Sandra, the story, I think we should not wait, and the story speaks for itself. We are not ready for that DSO. That switch over.
Yes.
Again, we like to talk about these things, but we're not a bit realistic about the situation of the country. We have a lot of, apart from the willpower from the government to do the right thing, where are the funds? Digital switchover requires a lot of technicalities. We have to improve on a whole lot of things and really be prepared for it. So I don't think we are completely ready, and I think we don't have to lump everybody together. If there are states that are completely ready for a digital switchover, we can just have it done in phase, than thinking that the whole country can have a digital switchover at the same time. So it's just what it is, really.
Oh well, the states that even have it partially. They don't even have it in total. It's not covered totally.
Completely.
Yes, where Lagos, Abuja, Kano, Rivers, Kwara, Enugu, Osun, and Plateau. So it's a partial coverage. It's not even like a holistic coverage yet. But then, just as mentioned here, the DSO's journey, due to lack of political will, new technicalities, and also perceived tediousness of the project. Yes, thank you very much. More details of that on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. Digital switchover falters. 29 states still remain on analog. Moving on now, we also have here dollar trades at discount against naira in black market. That's on page 15 of the Guardian newspaper. I also have Shore spends 40 million naira on presidential poll, challenges APC and others to declare campaign expenses. Let's quickly just look at this, Fuhad. Do we need to know how much our political officers spent in their campaigns?
Well, why not? I think there's even a law on that talks about the maximum amount that politicians should spend. I think we did a review of it sometime last
for
year.
Individuals and for parties.
Yes,
for presidents,
for the presidential election,
it's about 5 billion or so.
I think 5 billion or so.
Yeah.
But I must tell you, Sandra, the 5 billion is a joke. You know, if you look at the reality of our campaigns and what the politicians put into their election process, I think for government it's about 1.5 billion or so. I think so. And I think for senators about something in the hundreds of millions or so. But we know that these figures are not realistic. You know, the law on maximum amount on campaign expenditure and all of that also exists in other climes. In the US, for example, there are caps. You can't just spend any money anyhow. And those monies are accounted for. You know, you have donors. So that, you know, you don't monetize the election process. That's the reason why these laws are in place.
Yeah.
But I don't think we respect any of these things here. So nobody pays attention to things like that. Look, I think the figures we are getting is that, look, there are presidential candidates in this election that spent up to about 30 billion naira or even more. Look, we even have some people saying that, look, although not confirmed, that during the primaries.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm with you.
That during the primaries, you have to step down.
Okay.
Okay, look at the way we dollarize our primaries, for example. Even in some smaller parties, there was dollarization of primaries. So if you look at it, also look at the way how much we pay to fly private jets around, you know, the issue of logistics, carrying people around, the campaigns. So let's say they spent how much? Sorry.
40 million naira.
The result of the 40 million naira was clear at the polls.
Fuhad.
I'm just saying.
I'm not there. Okay, but basically, I think I remember when we were having this conversation with you and Adeyemi Saka, and you know, you both agreed that as a presidential aspirant, if you are not able to, lose about 200 million in a sitting, like, oh, okay, I'm not feeling it. You don't feel it. Like, you know, if they steal 200 million from you won't feel it. I think
what Adeyemi Saka said is that, look, as a president, for you to even stand a chance at all, not that you win, as a presidential candidate who is serious, so for you to stand a chance to even near Aso Villa, you must keep 100 billion aside. It's not that you will win, but for you to stand a chance, 100 billion. And I think he said for the governor, you must have like 50 billion kept somewhere that you are ready to lose and play with. And that's according to the Saka. But me, I stand with you. You know me,
it's okay.
I think that you shouldn't spend as a presidential candidate. Even 40 million is too much. But you know, to tell the people about your programs and policy. Stop
it. What? No, but I'm looking at it from the angle of someone who bought a farm for 100 million naira. You know,
that's so.
And you have to,
and then somebody spent 40 million in total.
So in total, you know, so I'm looking at it from a lot of perspective, I might say. But then more details on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. When Fuhad is good, that's Fuhad. That was why you were not able to gather money for your form last year. Is when you have, you know, things like this, the way you are thinking. We're trying to gather money to buy form for you last year, and we could not gather the money to buy it. So imagine how much.
I will run on boot party the next time. I will run on the boot party.
You are welcome to our admirable party. Thank you very much. More details on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. Still on the front page of the Guardian, very quickly. EFCC quizzes ex-Benue State Governor Samuel Otom over alleged misappropriation, and that is on page 4 of the Guardian. We also have here, court fixes July 13 for judgment in Emefiele's suit against federal government, and that is on page 5 of the Guardian newspaper. All right, that's all we have. Oh no. We have here, finally from the Guardian, like Nigeria, foreign airlines warn Ethiopia over $95 million stock funds and consequences. So is it a situation of Irunuboro? Because I'm trying to understand what we have Nigeria owing international airlines some
foreign airlines, yeah.
Yes, not owing, more like, you know, they have funds trapped here because of, you know, the dollar.
It's people like English, it's owing. They are not
because of the dollar.
Use another one. You don't want to use the word owing.
Stock is stock here. They have funds stock.
Their money is due to them. They are not is not stock anywhere. Their money is due to them that you have not remitted to them. Okay. So you are owing them.
So basically, Ethiopia is also facing that same thing, and it's this same Ethiopia that has a large percentage of Nigeria Airlines. So how are we supposed to help ourselves out? But then looking away from that, that's what we have here on the front page, that the fact that just like Nigeria, Ethiopia also has issues with foreign airlines as regards, stock funds and consequences. Yes.
I think it's a problem for a lot of African countries, really. And the problem is, again, this dollarization of our market. Everything is in dollars. And you have situations where there's no financial discipline in most of these countries, when it comes to foreign direct investments, and we honoring our own part of the bargain. We always falter, because again, I think that, look, these airlines have done their job, and we should do the needful. That's how you are taken seriously in the Committee of Nations when it comes to bilateral trade and all of that. Because, for example, I think we have serious issues with the Dubai people now, Emirates Airline. I'm not even sure they fly Nigeria now because of issues like this and all of that. So I think for us to be taken seriously, we need to always honor agreements, do the needful when it comes to trade and transactions, and become more honorable, fulfilling our own part of the bargain at all times. That's how we'll be taken seriously in the Committee of Nations.
Thank you very much, Fuhad. Let's move on now to Vanguard Newspaper. Time check is 22 minutes past 8, and you're listening to Mainland 98.3 FM. This is Trends in the Papers. We're looking through major trending stories across the across the papers. Now, Vanguard, the major headline. Anxiety as ex-depot petrol price rises to 490 naira per litre. And we have here where we have riders.
Where is anxiety going from?
People are anxious. What? People are anxious.
Okay, people. Just take me out of that. No, that.
Well, there's anxiety.
I knew this was going to happen. Okay, just read your story.
Retail price rises to 515 naira per 15 naira. Major marketers lift at 446.57, 446 naira 57 kobo per litre. And then you have regulator unavailable at filling stations. PMS now for the rich, says Nigeria Labour Congress. Deregulation drives change in price, says Ipman. And then we are still far from deregulation, says Professor Iledare. So Fuad, so you were saying something about people not being anxious, or who is being anxious, or where's the anxiety coming from? But then what we have in the report is that there's palpable anxiety among members of the public following a rise in the ex-depot price of petrol by 4.3% to 490 naira per litre. So as a result, some petrol stations have started selling above 500 naira, which is 12 naira above, the expected 488 naira per litre here in Lagos State. That's the situation of things now, and there are of course different reactions to that particular one. It was learned that officials of the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority, that's NMDPRA, were not present to monitor and enforce sanctions against defaulters at the filling station, and as a result, we have illegal operators embarking on sharp practices, especially pump manipulation and product diversion. We also have NLC reacting to this development, saying they are not surprised by the antics of the marketers. That is why we are working on alternative. PMS is now for the rich. So by the time we are through with alternatives, PMS will be left for the rich. That's as regards that. So Labour, they are saying that an alternative to PMS, Labour came up with a model of having a compressed natural gas, that's CNG, based on the fact that Nigeria has large natural gas deposits. All right, and then you have Ipman on their own part. They are saying that the price is affected by foreign exchange. This is the beauty of deregulation, as the price will be determined on international market, whether positive or negative, meaning that the price will not be static. So, with the recent floating of Naira and deregulation of Forex and trading, and allowing the value of the Naira to be determined by market forces, then the removal and the removal of subsidy on petrol, we should expect the situation to change constantly. So, Fuhad,
Change where? Change positively or negatively?
You just wrote change. So
Sandra.
greater days ahead.
And greater days ahead. I hear you. I say it again. The policy outlook of removing subsidy, the attempted deregulation of the downstream sector, the floating of the naira, is all calculated at making more money available to the government. And that's just it. Okay, shop revenue, block leakages, and all of that. But the reality is this, and that's why I'm not anxious. I know this was going to come. That look, whatever 488 naira price tag of 500 that we're talking about is a joke. The prices will continue to rise because it will be determined majorly by forex, which is now floated. And why would it be determined by forex? So far, we are still importing, Sandra. So far, we are still importing refined products. And I laugh at the idea of the PMRC going to filling stations. Sandra, if you say you have deregulated the market, it's supposed to fix prices again. How do you peg prices when you say you've deregulated the market? Because what you are saying basically is that, look, let everybody do what they like. And that you are hoping that competition among these stakeholders would now help to reduce price. And I think that's a joke taken too far. The prices are not going to drop. Quote me on that 100 times. And we have not seen the end of these prices, this rise in prices. And that's why people are warning that if we are not careful, in the next few months we may be buying PMS at almost 1,000 naira per liter. It happened to diesel. So that's why I say Nigeria should brace up. You know, I see people celebrating removal of subsidy. Oh, it has to go. Yes, it has to go. But what are the consequences? What is the government doing to mitigate the effect? Look, up till now, Sandra, the government is not even making it a priority to get our refinery to start to work. We unveiled the Dangote refinery. Already, we are even getting news that, look, that refinery may not start working in the next few months. So that was why I was completely annoyed with Mele Kyari when he was downplaying the need for us to begin to refine locally. Because if you are still importing, Sandra, and the prices are to be determined by forex that we have now floated without any regulation, Sandra, Nigerians should brace up. Prices are going to continue to rise. So fight is because again, you know, you have a situation where you see, you know, the capitalists are quick to throw this buboya at us. There are no competing forces and you see that they always mention will affect prices. Nobody talked about probably dropping prices. We should be ready. Anybody again, I'm not excited. I'm not worried. It's just for us to look inwards and plan for these tough days ahead. I know what I'm saying clearly.
Well, thank you very much for that.
I've been buying at 510 naira per liter now, Sandra. Most of the major marketers are already selling above 500. Even the NNPC filling stations, some of them are already selling at 499, 500. They've risen their prices above 488. Some of them. So look, good days ahead. Let me not say anything negative.
That's all. Thank you. It's okay. More details on page 5 of Vanguard newspaper. Fuhad, let's not forget that by July 1st, electricity tariff would also, increase. And
we're also hearing that 7.5% VAT is going to be on diesel too.
Diesel.
So a lot of employers will have to pay more to provide energy for their businesses because most companies run on diesel generators, so we should be prepared again. All the businesses for vehicles on diesel too will have to increase their prices. So good days ahead for Nigeria. I pray.
Even the people carrying the fuel to have to increase because now they are
because they run on diesel.
Trucks run on diesel as well. All right, that's all we can take, unfortunately, this morning. But then I'll just run through the other headlines that we have here because we're out of time now. That story is on the page 5 of Vanguard newspaper. And then also why we opposed Nnamdi Kanu's request for access to his medical records, DSS. That is on page 11 of Vanguard. And also on the Nation newspaper, the major headline, wide acclaim greets service chiefs, other appointments. Some saying it's a unifier. And that story is on page 4 of the Nation newspaper. Excuse me. And we also have Nati raises more dust over NNPCL's 60 million daily petrol consumption claim. That's also on page 4. We also have here, Emefiele will flee if admitted to bail. AGF and DSS tells court. So, it's a flight risk.
Okay, it's fine.
Fuhad, let's not forget that sometime last year we were looking for our CBN governor, but then
he came back.
But it's okay. We'll take a short break now. We'll be back by 8:40 for Mainland Focus. Please don't go anywhere. When we come back, we'll open up the phone line for you to join in on the conversation as regards our focus for this morning. This is Mainland 98.3 FM, and we are the sound of Lagos.
You're listening to Mainland 98.3 FM.
The broadcast art